Hi, this is Mitch from Hard Intentions YouTube channel. We also have hardintentions.com where we have artwork, T-shirts, hats, and some other things, like the little St. Patrick there. Anyways, hope you go check us out at hardintentions.com. Check out some of our shirts and our other cool stuff. Maybe you find something you like. And of course, I have to say, 100%, man, we really appreciate the support that we get from all our viewers. You guys are fantastic. Um, Let me move this camera a little bit. Yeah, I've just been sitting around and, I did a video about somebody who, got out of prison. People been asking me about forever. Normally I don't talk about, I'll mention, hey, this prison gang or this bike club or whatever. I don't do things by name. And I just had to make a video about that guy because, anyways, I just had to do it. But my policies on other stuff, like mentioning names, and I told the wife, look, I got stories. I've seen things, man, that people shouldn't see, and I know I've got the dogs outside barking. I saw things and experienced things that the average person hasn't, and that people shouldn't have to go through an experience, but that's just the way prison is. And like when I went and saw my friend in Arizona, we sat around, chatted about stuff, and we talk about things. People that were there with me, or people that were there but in other prisons, and they'd be like, "Yeah, I heard about this and that." And we'll chat about it, and we'll cut it up. But it's not for me to get on and put on YouTube channel. And like I say, I did a video about video snitching. Same thing. I'm not, I can't tell stories that I have. A lot of the stories I have, I can't tell because basically it's video snitching, and I'm just not down with that shit. But, when someone gets on here and says, what a fucking killer they are, and, single-handedly took on the world, whatever. Bottom line, when someone's a fucking informant, man, and they're coming out here into the world and acting like they're great people, I had to say something. But like, I was raised in a culture, not just prison, but on the streets, where like, you didn't tell on Johnny down the street because he stole Joey's motorcycle or bicycle or whatever. Nobody liked a rat, nobody liked tattletales from your kids, and people don't like them now. It's a hard thing for me to cope with, seeing people glorify informants. Like this guy Takashi 6ix9ine, and this guy that I did a video on, Mike Thompson. It's hard to live in a society, man, that glorifies informants. Like in youth authority, you don't tell. You didn't tell. You didn't associate with people that were known as informants, people that were snitching. Staff were they were the enemy. They were staff and we weren't. And if you could talk to one of them to manipulate them into doing something for you, that's one thing. But being an informant wasn't one of them. That's not how you manipulated your way into it. And they had units for guys that were informants, and they lived on those units for a reason, because people would hurt them. And later on in life, people would stab them and try to kill them. I can't tell you how many guys. Now, that's a standard too that people use to their advantage, falsely too. Is they'll say, "Oh, that guy's a rat." Like, somebody will get stabbed by a group of people. They'll, someone who's in a group or whatever, hooked up, they'll stab someone, and if the guy doesn't die, or even if he does, they'll be like, "Why'd you book that guy so well?" Because he's a rat. And really, the guy wasn't a rat, which is just as bad to me as guy being a rat. Because if you stab numerous people under the guy said, hey, they're a rat, then eventually people start to say, you know, that these dudes aren't rats. They just owed that guy money, or he wouldn't do something, or they couldn't be extorted or whatever. Then the whole strength of you know, someone being an informant loses its strength. It loses its merit. It's like, oh, they stabbed another guy over there. Yeah, well, you know, yeah, what? Oh, they said he was a rat, just like the last guy they said was, you know. So it loses its merit. But you know, the thing is, people don't like to be told on. That's true. But the thing is, there's something about trading sides that people don't like. People don't like it when people trade sides. Um, so when you snitch, you're selling your team out to join up with the other side. And people don't like that because, you know, especially if you're involved with criminal activity, um, you you have a bond with people, and I should be able to go out and do felonies or whatever it is that we do with the full expectation that this other person is connected to me through this bond that we have as criminals, whether I'm in a criminal organization or whether we're just a couple guys consider ourselves outlaws and we commit crimes for money. We have the reasonable expectation to believe that the other person is not going to inform on me, even if they get busted. So you have that expectation and you make plans for criminal behavior, and with the full expectation that, hey, if I get away and someone else doesn't, or if we both get away and let's say you know, Billy Bob's flapping his lips about how much money he made off robbing a bank, or you know, or his big connection with Joe Schmo where he can get pounds of dope and make big money, and someone hears it and decides to snitch on him, and then he gets busted, and then he tells on you. There goes your whole reasonable expectation of not be told on, because you have a bond, a criminal bond. Uh, some guys used to call it, you know, code of honor amongst convicts and criminals, which is kind of a falsehood, because I don't know how deep it really was. But there was a time in prison where people would be on the yard or in the chow hall or on the tier, and somebody would stab someone and maybe kill them, and they might have seen it and they would just walk away. And if they didn't have a chance to walk away and the yard went down there in the immediate area, um, the staff would take all their names, everybody in the immediate area of where the dead body is or where the crime happened, and they would ask them all, you know, hey, what'd you see? And they'd say, I don't see anything. People wouldn't tell on you for murder, drugs, theft, anything. They wouldn't tell on you. Um, you know, and it's to the point now where people are people are you know, racing to get to the program office to tell on you. You know, I was selling tobacco in San Quentin 2011. I got busted. I got told on by like 5 people. Not only did they tell on me, but they put me down as a 1030, or it's enemy form, I think. So they dropped these information on me, and they also declared me an enemy, so I couldn't go back to cell block, you know, because it's pretty simple to figure out. Now, here's the thing, like if you're involved with people and you do something and you get told on, well, you know how many people know what you did, or you know how many people know what you said. If you say, hey, I heard Joe over here is a rat, and then Joe comes and tells you, hey, uh, you know, you saying I'm a rat. You know how many guys you told that he was a rat. In other words, if you put a piece of information out, especially about another person, and it comes back to you, you know how many people you gave that information to. There's a book called, excuse me, there's a book called Three Can Keep a Secret If Two Are Dead. Um, I mean, it's it's pretty serious thing, man, in this time in our history where you can't trust people. Their word's no good. I mean, we had a saying in prison and on the streets, you know, if your word's no good, you're no good. So if someone can't trust you with secrets that they're involved with you, then what's your worth? You know, you might as well just go out and beat Joe lunch pail, which is not a bad thing. Um, uh, you know, back in the day, people hated rats. People hated Henry Hill. He was a freaking rat. Um, they made a movie about it, and you could see how bad they hated him. They figured he was telling, and they wanted to kill him. So I mean, and we live in a culture now that glorifies informants. You know, there's no glory in being an informant, and there's no honor to it. It's actually it's a snake move, you know. And like I've said a million times, guys who get involved with criminal organizations and act like they have a green light to do whatever they want, they usually do. There's been cases of guys in motorcycle clubs that were running around hurting people, selling drugs, doing whatever the hell they wanted. And then when they're, you know, when the end was near, they come to find out they were working with the FBI the whole time they were doing dirt. So, um, you know, choose your friends wisely, because we live in a culture that glorifies snitching and being an informant, selling people out. And to me, there's no glory in it. There's no honor in it. I mean, what kind of person, man? Uh, you know, people said, "Oh, so what is like the video I made about, dude? What was guy supposed to do? Just ride that out?" Um, you're in an organization um, that culls its membership, you know, by through murder. So let's say you're involved with a group of people, and every now and then they say, "Hey, this guy over here has got to go for whatever reason," and they kill him. And then it happens again, and you're part of it, and you're saying, "Okay, you know, he's got to go." And then all of a sudden, you think your turn's coming. Well, you know, you've been involved with the removal of all these people. So what do you do now? You know, you signed up for stuff, and then you think all of a sudden it's bad deal. Doesn't matter. You signed up for it. Ride it out. Tough guy it up. You know, get your knife and go deal with it. You know, I mean, I've said before, that's why I'm not a part of an organization that could lead to take me to prison, because you know, if I'm part of a group of people that are doing dirt and I get busted, then I'm going to jail. I'm either going to fight it and win, or I'm going to fight it and lose and go to jail. Um, there's no there's no exit strategy through law enforcement. I don't think I could live with myself. Be a free man out here because you sold out all your friends, or in other guys' cases, they become a pariah to the regular people, but they have a safe place to live because they sell out all the guys that trusted them and had a friendship with them. I mean, you know, it's just it's pretty despicable, man. You sign up for the ride, you know, ride it out. Um, I don't know. It just seems to me like there's no honor, but it goes beyond that. It's not just honor; it's self integrity, um, and your self worth. You know, I mean, people think it's cool to snitch now, and it's not. It's not. It's not cool. I mean, you got guys that call themselves dropouts, and here's the deal: they're not dropouts. A dropout refers to someone who's a part of an organization and decides they don't want to be a part of that organization anymore. So they work with law enforcement, they drop out of their gang, and they snitch and they fabricate stories against people. They listen to the stories that law enforcement has, and they decide to collaborate or corroborate the story that law enforcement has on a certain person or a certain organization. And if you think that's not true, think again. It happens all the time. Law enforcement will take a weak motherfucker who's a rat and tell them what they want to hear, and they'll corroborate their story in court for their own safety. So it happens all the time, and to me, it's dirty, filthy shit, and I think most people think so too. It's just that for some reason, man, we're breeding a culture where people think it's all right to do that, and it's not. Um, and the more guys that do it, the more guys follow suit. So, anyways, a dropout is that someone who drops out of an organization. So, what you have now is before they started mixing these yards, you had like 70% of the prison population calling themselves DOs, and proudly yelling out in ad seg DO, like they're not dropouts though. They're just runaways, and they're guys who are hiding from their own dirty deeds. Like we had a guy when one of these Senate bills was coming out to release 3 strikers. He went down law library for like a week or so, filed all the paperwork and came back to the yard, and he's like, yeah, I'm going to get out under this thing eventually, and they did let a lot of 3 strikers at Prop 37 or whatever it was. And he went and got a bunch of heroin, like 4 or 5 grams of heroin, and locked up. Guy saw him in the holding cage, and, where you going? He's like, fuck, I'm out here. He had a butthole full of heroin going to PC yard. That's not a dropout. That's a scumbag who rips people off, and his way out is to PC up and snitch on the guys he got the dope from. Same, a lot of guys will run around and get in debt, and that's their exit strategy, is to snitch. There's no honor in that. It's despicable, deplorable behavior. Then you have guys who are members of prison gangs or organizations inside prison, and I'm sure they got guys in them groups of people that aren't doing a whole lot, man. They're just doing their time. They're part of the deal. Maybe, whatever. Maybe they're enforcing some policy to keep guys in check, like saying you can't have more than $200 worth of debt to another race, which, you could say, well, who are you to say how much debt I can have? But in the end, if you don't pay your debts, everybody's going to get in a wreck over you. And so maybe that's all they're doing, is enforcing policies like that keep the white dudes in, or whatever race they are, in a safe place, and then they enforce that policy on people who violate it, or they have someone enforce it. And so here comes some rat who wants to check in, and he'll throw these guys' names on the table for law enforcement and make up a story, and then, or maybe he wants to check in, and law enforcement, prison administrators will tell him, well, what about this guy, whatever his name is, and they'll say, yeah, well, I know him, or whatever. I said, well, what about this? And they'll mention activities that they want to accuse the guy of, and then the guy who's trying to run away, he'll say, oh yeah, I heard about that, and he'll collaborate the story, corroborate it. So that's how it works, man. It's not, don't think these guys are have their exit strategy to snitch on people because they're great people. Some of these guys, like, Mr. Thompson claims to be, big hierarchy. The prison administration claims at one time he was a hierarchy in a prison gang and stuff. You think he just walked away from that because he all of a sudden became a good guy? He wanted to be a law-abiding person. Think about that for a minute. This guy claims he was making millions of dollars, and as a leader amongst this group of people, which I think is a pretty tall tale. You think he just walked away from all that, guys that he called brother and all that kind of stuff, because he wanted to become a good guy? Usually it's because they have information that, their turn's coming. So his exit strategy, I'm sure he rounded up as much money as he could before he checked in, and then he checked in and he told on all his friends. So, here's the deal. If you're in prison committing murders and all this shit because you want to be a part of something, and then all of a sudden what'd you do all that for? You do that because you're scared and you need a place to hide, or you do it because you really believed in it. I mean, some guys really believe in what they're doing. And the guys who PC up, they don't believe in nothing. They're fakers, they're posers, pretenders. They run around with people, join gangs, join groups, bike clubs, whatever. And then when the going gets tough, they don't get going. They run to the cops. So what's really in their hearts and minds? I mean, from day one, what were they really about? You know? So yeah, you know, it's I had one of my co-defendants PC'd up and made statements against me that were totally untrue. I hadn't seen the guy in 10, 15 years, and he made statements against me that were untrue as part of his exit strategy. Him and guys like all these dudes that quit gangs and all that, they fabricate stories on every single person they can imagine, right? And they listen to law enforcement, and then they craft their story to a fine tooth with a fine tooth comb to a T. And so here's a guy I haven't seen in 13, 14, 15 years, and he fabricated a story about me. Not just me, a whole bunch of people testified against people. That was his exit strategy. So I would just say, man, especially if you're a youngster and you're going to get in the mix, keep your cards close to your chest, meaning, you're playing poker, you got your hand out there where everyone can see it. Everyone knows what you got. Everyone knows what you're doing. So keep them close to your chest. Keep your cards close to your chest, man. So not everybody knows what you're doing, and really pay attention to people. And this isn't just if you're a gang member or a criminal. If you got a job and you enjoy your job, you do a good job, you want to advance in the company you're working for, and there's guys there that don't do such a good job, and they kind of kiss the boss's ass, and they kind of envious of you because you get praises for your good work. Keep your cards close to your chest. Don't become real tight with them, even though they're your coworkers and they come off as super friendly, or even though they're your bros in your gang. Doesn't mean that they have your best interest at heart. People that only care about themselves, they'll tell on you because it's to their advantage. They don't care about you. All they care about is themselves. They will pretend, they'll call you bro, they'll kick it with you, and they'll act like they're concerned about you. And if you need some minor thing in life, they'll help you with that. So you go, man, oh, Joe over there, he's a great guy. He's my bro. But in all reality, you're just another resource to him. When he gets in trouble with the law, he'll snitch on you. Or when he wants to advance in the company you're working with, he'll tell the boss, hey, that dude's a piece of shit. All his character defects, he's going to throw on you. Laziness, incompetent, whatever he can say about you, he'll do it because it means his advancement in the company, because he doesn't care about anybody but himself. I had this older man, he's like 80 years old now, and he's in a motorcycle club, and he was in prison with me, and he told me that. And I started looking at all the dudes, man, that I knew who'd snitched over the years, who snitched on me and other people, guys like this scumbag I did a video on. He told me, straight up, if all they care about is themselves, they'll snitch because they don't care about you. All they care about is themselves. And if snitching on you is an advance for them, they'll do it. So just keep that in mind. especially if you're a youngster. You know, I hate to see young guys get in trouble. I hate to see young guys doing dirt out there. But if you are, or if you're looking for a job and there's some asshole that doesn't like you having your job, just keep all that in mind. You see people that are only concerned about their own self, like you're talking to them and you say something and they just turn it, you know, like, hey, I got a motorcycle, and they turn it to where they got a better motorcycle, or, you know, I broke my thumb, or I broke my arm. Or they always one up you. It's always stories always about them, right? Keep an eye on them. And if you got a guy who's running around like he has a license to do dirt, keep an eye on him, because he might have a license, you know, or he might have an exit strategy. And then you're going to find out that guys like, you know, this 6'9" dude and Mike Thompson and all these other informants, dropouts and all this stuff, you're going to find out they're not so cool. You know, it's not so cool when you're the one paying the price for some informant fabricating a story about you. Just keep that in mind. You know, it's not cool. I know it's part of our culture, says it's cool, but who's the one putting that in their head that it's cool to be a rat? You know, law enforcement, government officials. Who's the one saying that's cool, other than the rat? Just keep that shit in mind. Because if you don't take heed, you could be sitting in a jail cell facing a life sentence. Anyways, you guys take care. And look, all our subs, Patreon members, and all our new members, you know, we love you. You take care of yourself out there, and whatever it is you do it hard. Thank you.